Hi, everyone. This is Angela, and you're listening to Homeschool Unrefined, the podcast where we keep homeschool simple, real, and fun.
And this is Marin. You've got episode 137, How We Homeschool Through a Pandemic, Part 8. Just keeps getting bigger and bigger, those numbers. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But first, we wanted to just say hi to everyone. Thank you so much for coming back and listening to us over and over again. We love getting to know you. We love your feedback. And we also wanted to give a shout out to 3 new Patreon supporters. Woo-hoo! Alexis, Alana, and Amanda. Thank you so much for supporting us. You're making this podcast happen.
Yes. Homeschool Unrefined is a small business. And interestingly, we are also affected by this pandemic. People's listening habits and listening capacities have changed since everything started. I know mine has. Mm-hmm. The things that I want to listen to or have the ability to listen to has definitely changed. So thank you to everyone who has been especially supportive of us during this time. We appreciate you. If you haven't had the opportunity, we would love if you could help us out in a few ways. You can subscribe to our podcast. Mm-hmm. That is the simplest thing that you can do. You can share us with a friend or on social media. You can rate and review us in Apple Podcasts. That's a huge help. If you don't know how to do that, we have a Instagram highlight
yes.
about how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We also have an app school guide that you could buy, or we have Patreon, and we would love to have your support there. Now is a great time to join Patreon. We just did a curriculum wrap-up episode. Mm-hmm. It was live on Friday. It is dropping tomorrow on Tuesday, May 12th for those who are patrons. Along with that, you'll get a PDF handout summary of the curriculum that we talked about. And also, we are going to be taking a break this summer from recording our regular episodes. During that break, we are still going to be recording for Patreon. We're going to be doing our regular 2 episodes a month. Patrons also get extended interviews, and they are first to know for our news and announcements. So if you are interested in that, you can go to patreon.com/homeschoolunrefined.
Yeah, definitely. We are really looking forward to continuing that connection during the summer with our patrons.
Definitely.
All right. So for our episode this week, we kind of decided to switch things up just a tiny bit because we're obviously going to still be talking about how we homeschool through a pandemic. But we just decided to talk about a few different things, just to shake things up a little bit. So we're going to talk a little bit about some things that we miss. And then we're going to talk about what's getting us through this quarantine, this time of us all being home together for so long. So
yes, and we might.
Yeah, sorry.
We might go back to our regular format next week, or we might not. Yeah. Who knows?
We'll see.
We'll see how we feel.
What feels right? Exactly.
Yep.
All right. So let's start with what do we miss? What do we miss, Angela? What are you missing right now?
Well, when I thought about this,
Mm-hmm.
one thing rose to the top,
mm-hmm.
which kind of surprised me, and that is going to the movies.
Interesting. That wasn't even on my list, but I do think about that often.
Yeah, we went to movies a lot for homeschool. Mm-hmm. We would go to the $5 Tuesdays, and we'd get the free popcorn,
yes.
and I'd bring my healthy snacks. And we'd sit in the recliner chairs, and it was just one of my favorite traditions. And I am sad that we're not getting to do that. And as a result, we're watching fewer movies because it's not as exciting to me to watch at home. For me.
Yeah. I have to say, I was disappointed that a lot of movies aren't just going right to video for us. I mean, I know a few were, but now all the movies that were supposed to be in movie theaters are just getting backed up for the most part now. And I'm sad about that. I'd be okay watching a movie at home, but it's not as exciting. But I still want to see new movies. And that's not even happening.
Yeah. So I really miss that. And I also think I used to think a month or two ago, think, this is going to be over in a couple weeks. So then we'll just all be back to normal.
Yes.
And now that I know that's not happening, I am sad because I think are movie theaters going to go bankrupt? Are
sure.
when are they coming back? If they do come back, how is it going to be different?
Yes.
So I'm wondering, like, is this tradition going to be? How is it going to be forever changed?
Well, it'll be so interesting. I think everything, is going to be a little bit different in some way. So
Yeah,
movies
yeah.
are no exception for sure.
Yeah.
So that'll be very interesting.
Right. So what do you miss, Maren?
All right. Well, one thing I'm missing is alone time, which is, I mean, kind of interesting for me because I'm an extrovert. I love being with people. But I always need to balance that with alone time. And especially because we have been traveling, if you're new to this podcast, we've been traveling for almost a year now and around the United States. And I was so looking forward to being in Austin, Texas, because we were planning on being here for an extended time, like 5 months. And so, I worked so hard at like finding great co-ops for the kids for this semester while they were here. One of our kids was in public school just for a time. And everybody it was such a great thing because I needed some downtime after the intensity of traveling for so long. It was just, we were coming off a very intense time as a family. And I really felt like I needed to decompress and like have that downtime and alone time. And I actually felt like my kids needed more, what's the opposite of downtime? Uptime. Like they needed more activities, socialness. They needed, they needed
time away from their siblings.
Time away from their siblings was a huge part of it. And they just needed like someone else to kind of give them like this input. You know what I mean?
Other adults.
Exactly. And so it was going to be invigorating for all of us in so many ways. And that just went away. It was great. I think we were able to do that for a month and a half, maybe 2 months. I think 2 months. So I am so thankful for the 2 months that we had. And it was just funny because seriously, every week I probably came on here. You probably all remember me saying, this is exactly what we need right now. This is exactly what we need right now. And now it's not here. But I do have to say, I mean, I'm compensating for that, for that time in some ways. Like I'm making sure I'm still getting some of my needs met in alone time. And that just means some extra downtime for my kids too.
Yeah.
Which is not exactly what they needed, but it's just like, we have to make the best of this.
Yeah. You're doing the best you can. Definitely.
Exactly. So I am still getting alone time. It's just like, not extended and it's more complicated, when you're trying to figure out what to do with all the kids during that time.
Yeah. We didn't talk about this ahead of time, but that was going to be my next one, which was like the lack of true alone time.
True alone time.
And I feel like, this time is hard for the introverts and the extroverts for similar and different reasons. Because I'm an introvert, and one thing I discovered probably this fall to winter before all this happened was I need an extended period of time alone every once in a while, like an overnight or like a full day or something. And I had never been able to get that, didn't realize that I even needed it. And now my kids are older, so it's a little bit easier to do that if I need to. But since this started, that has been the thought of that has been gone. Also, I feel needed. Emotionally and physically, I feel like my family needs me during this time.
Oh my goodness. And it's not just like to me, tell me what you think about this, but it's not even a normal necessarily amount for your, like I have a normal amount that I have in my head about, how much my kids need me normally. And then like, because of all the things going on in this world and just, everybody being cooped up together, it's like even more. There's more of that need.
Right. Definitely. It feels more intense, like much more intense. Their needs are different. And because their lives are different too. And so we're adapting to that. And I have not felt, it's been very hard for me to be able to get out alone. First of all, I can't go anywhere, and everybody's here. I mean, it's just,
I know.
It's just really hard. So recently I have started to to try again. And this is hard because Jeremy is traveling every other week. So
Yeah.
we get into a rhythm and then it changes.
Yeah.
But I am trying so hard to really prioritize myself
Good.
and get out for walks alone, because that is one way that I can make this happen. But it is such a challenge. I mean,
Yes.
there is so much planning that has to go into that. So
So true.
yeah, so I was thinking similarly to you that I miss for my kids the things, the outside activities that they need, that also gives me the alone time. So they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Whether that's like some activity that they're in, play dates with friends,
Exactly.
grandparents. I miss all of that for them and
I
me.
know. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so torn about those things because as much as I miss them, I also feel like it has kind of taken work off of my plate in some ways.
Yeah,
because I'm
for
not
sure.
organizing those things too. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's kind of, I mean, I hate to complain about both things, both sides of the coin, but you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
well, yeah.
it's,
You're not
both sides
complaining.
would have been
You're just,
tough. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're just talking through it.
Right. We're just processing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Another thing, should I talk about something?
Yes,
that
go
I'm
ahead.
missing? Okay, so one thing that I'm kind of missing right now is adventures, and this is probably part of my extrovertedness. You know, and one reason why we went on this big, you know, American adventure was to go on adventures in each city that we were in, and we can't really do that right now. I'm so grateful we're near nature, so, and hiking trails and stuff, so we can do that kind of stuff. And actually, I have to say, the way that this time has like kind of shrunk our adventure zone is probably great for my kids. They're probably, I feel like they have been very satisfied with the amount of hiking that we can do right now, and the distance we're going and the things we're seeing. It's great for them. For me, I would love to just see like all the trails and go around all of, you know, see all the nature, and I just, you know, take a road trip for the day or something. And those kind of things just aren't happening for me. And I feel like that's kind of a, it's tough for me.
Yeah.
to even, especially on the weekends, like even when, you know, when Sean's not working, to not have a place to go as a family.
Yeah.
Besides our usual, you know, the one trail.
Right. That's the same here. It is the same here.
Yeah,
And I feel like for you being an extrovert, you really need to, I know this because Jeremy is really struggling too as an extrovert.
Yeah.
He needs to get out and do exciting new things. And that one trail by your house is no longer new to you.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it'll do, but it's not what you really need.
Right. Yeah. And I know there's more out there. That's the tough part. It's all out there, and it's just not, I can't grasp it right now.
Right.
So, and also, besides nature adventuring, like I'm kind of grieving not experiencing Austin as a city, the culture, and, you know, there's music and art here and plethora of restaurants and things like that. And so like just to even walk down public streets here is like, I don't know. It's an education of the culture of Austin. There's just so much personality in the city, and we're not really getting to see that right now. And so,
right. And I bet it feels like this is your chance.
Yeah. Well, you know, thankfully, I am so glad we were here for 2.5 months. I think. Gosh, how long were we
beforehand?
Here? 3 months, actually. Well, yeah, 2.5 months before we had to start staying at home, and we really did it up. And I'm so glad we did beforehand. I'm so thankful. And you know, every once in a while we're getting out, and you know,
a little bit,
but it's just not the same. I think there's, you know, like probably everywhere there's more anxiety. Not just from us, but just from the people around us too. So it's not like Austin doesn't have the same feel as it used to, for sure.
Right.
I'm sure everyone can say that about their own city or town right now.
Yeah.
So
like
that's
a disappointment.
Yeah. Even walking into a store, I feel anxiety, and I can sense the anxiety in other people.
Yes. It's definitely not the same.
It's just not. Yeah.
And you know, you can't do live music. You can't go to like museums or any of that. So that's really a bummer.
Yep. It is. So
yeah. All right, I think we should move on to
Yeah.
what is getting us through quarantine.
Oh yeah, I think this is where a lot of the juicy stuff is going to happen. There's besides, there's lots of tough things right now. You know what we're missing, but I also think like there's so many great things that are kind of like rising to the top.
There are.
So how about for you? Like what's one thing that's getting you through?
Well, okay. One thing, I am just calling this special rhythms and routines.
Nice.
And I have kind of a lot of them that I've sort of implemented. And I realized I think this is, a little bit part of my personality because I'm an ISFJ on the Myers-Briggs, right?
Yes.
And ISFJs really like traditions. And I've always told you, like, I don't really like traditions.
Yeah.
And, like holiday traditions, I'm not really into those. And you're like, yeah, but you do a lot of other like little traditions.
Yes. Like going to the movies.
Yeah. And so what I'm going to name is an example of all of that. So it's interesting for me that this is what is kind of like helping me through is being able to focus on these things, which are, every day we're doing deer time, which I love. It brings me so much joy to see all of my kids and me reading a book, reading our own book, drop everything and read. I think it's just kind of selfish. Like selfishly, I like to see that, and so it's bringing me joy. You know
what? I think there's nothing wrong, like especially with that self-awareness that you have. This is like something I want to do, you guys.
Yeah, I want to do this.
0% wrong. That's
right. Okay. Yeah.
like,
thanks.
This is what I want to do.
Especially because, my 15-year-old is in public school this year. And so she's home now and she has not really been reading like she was when she was homeschooled. And so she's like getting to read and she's enjoying it. And so I'm like, oh, this is just making me so happy. And I love that we have made that a priority. So we do this deer time for half an hour and then we go for a walk every day. And it is like the one real anchor to our day. It's the same. It's consistent. We do this every day. My kids usually bring their scooters and it is really, really, really saving us. And
can I ask you what time do you do these things?
Well, it's usually it has changed a little bit, but it's usually in the afternoon. It's usually like 2:30 to your time, 3:00 walk, but it can be adjusted depending on somebody's schedule, like if they have Zoom or something.
Sure. Okay. So it's like a half hour of deer
and then a walk.
And then like a half hour walk maybe.
Yeah.
I'm
or
just
sometimes
because
a little
I like
longer.
to know.
I know. I usually ask those detailed questions to you. So I know. It's so, and then, it's not perfect, but it's working for us right now and I'm happy about it. So
that is awesome.
Yeah.
So great.
And then also, so we're doing, I've talked about this before. We're doing special days. There's every day of the week has something special.
Yes.
You would not believe how much my kids look forward to this. Even though they don't say it, like they're not like jumping up and down, but it is something they're like holding on to, as being something to look forward to. So,
and it doesn't have to be that like the jumping down kind of excitement.
I know. It's just like
it's great.
Today is Thursday. We did I make pancakes and smoothies for breakfast on Thursday.
Awesome.
And I think for them it's like, oh, something special. I don't have to think about what I'm making. Mom's going to make it. I put chocolate chips in the pancakes. It works out for everyone.
It's so funny. I love it that your kids still like chocolate chips in their pancakes.
Who doesn't?
Right?
It's actually kind of what makes the pancake. Now for them, if there's no chocolate chips,
they're like, what?
Is it even a pancake?
What?
Should they eat it? I mean, I think they should.
That's
but
great.
Now they've come to expect it. And so like, one day we go get coffee. Fridays we have we do takeout and a movie. So Wednesday nights we watch Survivor. So it's just nice to have something to look for, something different, like that marks the day. Like
that
it is
really
Thursday.
Exciting. It is exciting. I have to say I've been kind of implementing this, and this is one of the things I had on my list. So I'll just say.
Oh, okay,
say
yeah,
it right
talk
now.
about it.
So like I think I posted on Instagram this week about how naturally we've been just kind of like making pancakes on Monday, and I was like, ooh, let's just make this pancake Monday. So we're doing that now too.
Nice.
And
nice.
okay, so you know how I said I'm kind of like missing this Austin like part of my life, this, you know, the Austin culture. Well, I decided, why are we not having Taco Tuesdays? It is Austin. There's so many amazing taco places. It's like I think the taco capital of the world. I don't know.
Oh, is it?
I don't know if it is, but I feel like it could be. So there's just so many amazing taco places around here. So we get taco takeout on Tuesdays. And this is what I love about it. It's not for dinner. It's for like, we usually order it for lunch or like a late lunch.
That's a great idea.
Yes, my 13-year-old has these classes until like, I think it's like 1 or 1:30. So like we eat it later in the afternoon, and I usually don't even need much for dinner then, because we have like tacos and and like tortilla chips, and it's just like so exciting.
And do you order from a different place every time?
Well, we have our favorite that we are trying not to continue to go to every time, but it's like our favorite, so it's real tough.
And do they deliver? Do you pick up?
Well, often they deliver. Yeah. So we're trying to do that, but
So
they're,
nice.
I feel like, and I'm getting to know like which places are doing a great job with like their social distancing rules and stuff.
Sanitizing.
Oh yeah. Like I will definitely go to those places.
If there's no,
if
like
they're
handing you my credit card.
Yeah.
And making me sign.
Yeah. Don't make me do that. I don't want to touch your pens.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love it.
So yeah, and I feel like I was gonna say, oh my gosh, Angela, just today I decided, it's getting so hot here, we decided Thursdays are gonna be Thirsty Thursdays. They have this great juice place in town, Juice Land, and so we're either gonna do that or get coffee. I seriously will drive kids around to wherever they want, and we'll just get their drink of choice.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's so great because then they're kind of motivated to get out and get sweaty, because it always feels so good to have a nice cold drink afterwards. So,
yes.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
I love that.
Thanks.
Let me think. I was going to say one more thing. Oh, and then my other little rhythm and routine is we're doing bedtime books and binge.
Oh, yes.
At night.
I love that too. So
this kind of started when Jeremy was gone for the week. We needed something to do together at night.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're reading aloud. I'm reading aloud to them, which again, I love.
I am so glad.
So I'm doing it, you know. And then I've paired it with watching Parks and Rec, which they love. Now, I like watching Parks and Rec. They like listening to the books that we're reading too. But like if I just said I'm reading aloud, my kids are 15, 13, and 11.
I know.
That's not enough of a draw for them. So we needed the Parks and Rec to attach to it. So it's making me really happy. We're not doing it every night because now it's getting nice out here and like lighter out later.
Yep.
And they're wanting to play outside, which I am never going to make them come in from playing outside to watch a show.
Isn't it interesting? I don't know. Are your kids like more into going outside in the evenings now?
Yeah.
I feel like that's happening here too. And I don't want to stop that.
Yeah, you can't stop that.
I know.
I cannot stop that. So we are doing it. We kind of talked about how we're going to do it like 2 or 3 times a week at night. The BBB, bedtime books and binge.
I love that. That's great.
So yeah, so those little things that we can look forward to each day or week are really getting me through.
I'm
for
so
sure.
glad. That's
yeah.
Great.
What's one thing that's getting you through?
So one of the things is you just mentioned. Also, it's read aloud, and it's kind of just made a comeback in our family. We stopped doing read aloud actually for kind of a long time. And I feel like it was because in our small house that we used to live in, it was really hard for us to all even be comfortable, all of us in our living room. It just, people were fighting over where to sit, and they were too close to each other. And I mean, there was just too many things. Too many problems. Yeah. So I just stopped read aloud with the whole family. And now I brought it back, and it's really enjoyable now. And for me, and this is something that's totally what I want to do. Yeah. I think if anybody else had the choice, they'd probably say, nah, no thanks. But actually they get into it. They get into it.
They do.
Yeah. Really. And then I'm also working on implementing a little bit of read aloud time with each person each kid individually. And I
Wow.
got that idea from you. Well, I had been doing that actually a long time ago. And then
I got that idea from you.
Yeah.
Before.
And then I
So-
got that idea back from you when you started doing it recently. And
Yeah.
I was like, I got to bring that back too. Because I feel like this is the deep dive I was kind of talking about in the past few episodes where I'm like, this is like this is our chance to go deep into something if we want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go into reading aloud. So why not?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I want to do that. And I feel like it's this like great connection time with each individual kid if I can do it. It's like a positive experience to do together. And why not have more of those during this time when things can get, like you said, like more emotional than normal. And
Yeah. Right.
so when there's even just 10 minutes of a little positive interaction and an enjoyable story,
Right.
and could be cuddle time or whatever. And I feel like sometimes I don't want to push my kids into all the academic areas. Like you have to work harder in this area and this area and this. It's just like that's too much pushing for me. But I feel like I'm okay focusing on like pushing them in one area. And I feel like this is where I want to be like, I really need you to do this. This
Yeah.
one's important to me.
Listen to your mom read to you.
You got to listen to me read to you. And it's not a hard thing. I mean, it might be kind of hard for sometimes, but like,
Yeah.
this is something you can do. And I really want you to do it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
yeah.
I know we didn't plan for this, but are you willing to share what you're reading? Some of the stuff you're reading?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So with our whole family, I've been reading the Vanderbeekers, although,
yeah.
if the kids who are doing online reading or online classes are not always with us.
Yep,
So
okay.
sometimes it's not the whole family anymore. So but that's what I'm doing, like with whoever is around.
Yeah.
And then with one of my kids, I'm reading, I think it's called The Wish Tree or just Wish Tree.
Oh yeah. We had that book. We've had that book here.
Have you-
I recognize it. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I haven't read it.
Okay. Really, really good. Sweet book.
Okay.
And then I'm trying to think. Oh, with my youngest, I decided to start. She's 9. Decided to start reading the Penderwicks because it just seems
Oh,
like right
yeah.
up her alley.
Yep.
So we're starting that. And I haven't started anything with the other 2 yet. Although I really think my 11-year-old son would really like The Lord of the Rings. I've always thought that.
Mm-hmm.
He's listened to Harry Potter and, what's the other, I mean, all like the Dragon series. I mean, all
Yeah.
of them. So
Yeah.
I feel like this is like right up his alley, and I never thought it was the right time, but now I feel like it might be.
Yeah.
We have this time. We've got loads of time.
Right.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. We are reading Because of Winn-Dixie. Because it's the Minnesota book for all
Book club.
Minnesotans book club or something right now.
and you've read that before with your kids, right?
Yeah, and I love it so much.
So
and
much.
so I just kind of use that book club thing as an excuse.
Yeah. Good idea.
And then and then we are reading Brown Girl Dreaming, which Mara,
Yeah.
it
I'm listening
might
to that.
be-
I'm actually listening to that on Audible by myself.
You are.
right now.
is this
I'm
your
like-
first time listening?
First time listening, yeah.
You-
And I love
okay,
it. I
is
like it
so
so
good.
much on
It
audio.
might be my favorite book ever.
Really?
Yeah, well,
Can you tell
maybe.
me what? I mean, I really, really like it. I love it so much. But what brings it to that
Well,
level
it's
for
a
you?
memoir, which I
That's
love
true.
memoirs.
That's
Okay. So, and it's written in verse, which is just like, and not only is it written in verse, it's written in this just this compelling, beautiful way.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
tells the story in such a unique, beautiful way.
I know.
My kids are actually really captivated by it too. I read it by myself a couple years ago, and now reading it again out loud to them, I'm getting so much more out of it.
Wow.
I love it. I'm like, you know how when you read a book more than
Oh,
once, you're
yeah.
able to focus on other things in the book.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm really
definitely.
loving that. Yeah.
Great.
And then with my son, I'm reading The Lightning Thief, which because you told me your son, no, is that right? Percy Jackson?
Yeah,
the first
Lightning
Percy
Thief. Yep,
Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah. And because I know your son loves that,
my
right?
gosh.
And so my son and your son, same age, and they're friends. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you should. And so we've been reading it. It's been good, except my son is like, they totally stole this from Harry Potter. It's like the same story, just different setting.
Well, actually, isn't
When
it
was
Greek?
this?
Isn't it Greek
I know.
stories, though?
I know. I
So
know.
maybe Harry Potter stole it from the Greek stories.
Well, he just thinks 12-year-old kid goes to a school,
Yep.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a little skeptical, but he really likes it. So I'm hoping I read this one aloud, and then he's gonna listen to the other ones.
Oh my gosh, my son was so skeptical. He's skeptical of anything new, So but what put him over the edge on listening was that his cousin said it was the best series ever. Quote, best series ever. And he was like, what? Because Harry Potter is the best series ever, isn't it? Like, who says that?
Who would choose a different best series ever?
Yes, exactly.
That's funny. Okay. All right. My next thing that is getting me through quarantine that I is surprising, because this has never been a favorite thing of mine. It is focusing on academics.
Yes.
Focusing on academics is getting me through. And because
this is why you never say never. Right? Yes.
Using curriculum is getting me through.
Yeah.
It's not actually using curriculum, although I do use some. But it's more like I feel like we really needed something to focus on. And I do not want to make anybody who is not focusing on academics right now feel bad.
Right.
Because that is not the point. Just think of me not focusing on academics for the other months and years.
6.5 years that you've
I mean, I go through periods,
Right.
but and we're
Waves.
always doing some. But it feels like we needed like a tent pole. We needed something to work towards. And this is and since my oldest is home from school and she's doing academics on the computer all day, it just was kind of a natural fit for my other two to also do that all day.
Yep.
It just made sense. It would feel awkward if they weren't to her, so we are kind of on her schedule.
Yeah.
She's done in like 3 weeks, and so I'm thinking,
Now you're like, what now? What
am I gonna do after 3 weeks? That's another conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
But I feel like it's been really good, and we've done a lot, and I feel accomplished, and I feel like we're making progress, which are all things that I don't necessarily think are important, or I don't think I think sometimes they are, but they don't always have to be.
Right, exactly. They don't always have to be, but just like the other things, like the read aloud, that's really important to you and me.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to say this is just important to me. Sometimes
now.
I want you to be, sometimes we just need to, I need you to focus on this a little bit.
Yeah. And I think what's odd about it is that at the end of the school year, typically, so in the spring, is when everybody's kind of winding down and maybe doing less academics.
Or feeling burnt out by doing all the academics. Yeah.
Right. Because maybe you started off the year strong. So it is coming at an odd time of the year,
Feels
but
weird,
I feel like it's felt right for us.
Yeah.
And I've really latched onto it. And I'm thinking about the summer, which I talked about last week, and how, because that has been our tent pole, how we are going to, structure the summer differently.
Yes.
So,
and, it's just, this is life. I feel like as soon as we start to get into some sort of comfortable plan, things change. So, but good. I'm so glad. I feel like we're all kind of like, oh, that's just amazing. That's so great that you're in this groove right now, because not everybody feels that way. I mean, I think that can be kind of rare.
I know it's rare for me. I've never felt this way. I can say I've never felt this way.
Wow.
So this is
well.
So I'm glad for now. So
good.
Let's hear your next one.
So mine is almost the opposite of that. I shouldn't say necessarily the opposite, but it's going to sound like it. It's more like time to go down rabbit holes of interest. And
Yeah.
I want to, as you can tell, that sounds very opposite of like getting into a, I don't know, a routine of curriculum and stuff like that. But I actually think it's kind of the same in that, like, I feel like our kids are really learning a lot right now. Like, they're just like soaking in so much, but it's just like in a very different way than like maybe a traditional, what I can't like cross off a lot of things on a list of things they've learned, or like academic things. But I feel like they are taking in so much, and a lot of that has to do with the nature that's near us and the hiking that we're doing and the animals that we've seen and the tadpoles that we have saved from the creek that dried up. First, we saved all these tadpoles that we're gonna die probably, and then we took care of them for a long time. We learned so much about tadpoles and the life of a frog, and just about how the responsibility of taking care of animals and how much time that takes and things like that. And then we've also had like lengthy discussions about the ethics of like, is it right to be keep these tadpoles here? What would be better for their quality of life and things like that. And then we, found this other body of water nearby, like a small pond. And I mean, it was just like, when a child starts crying about the information they've learned, that's like, you've just really, really things have sunk in for sure. And so like to make, my youngest had to make this really hard decision about letting the tadpoles go into this pond because it was just better for them. It was just a better life for them. But we did save them from the dried up creek area. So like it couldn't have been a better experience. And we're going through the same with the frogs. Like we've caught a few frogs because they're just all over here. They're all over right now. And
like by your house too?
By our house, yeah.
Okay. They're just all over.
Jumping around all over the place.
Okay. Yep.
Abundant amount of frogs here. And I don't know. Now my kids are feeling like weird about that even. Like, should we have this frog here? It just doesn't seem like, I mean, and I think I know what I think they should do with it.
Yeah.
With the frogs. And I think this is like such a great learning experience for them.
Right.
Figuring out what to do here. What's the right thing? So
right. That's so great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes. And so, I mean, I'm doing read alouds outside while they play with and take care of their frogs. Like, we are outside in the backyard just like taking care of these things all the time now. And I'm just so thankful for that kind of distraction from other things that might be on our have to list, or just just thinking about I don't know, the world and our situation and all these things. And we're kind of going through a transition with, we're going to be leaving Austin very soon and heading back to Minnesota, and it's not the safest time to travel. And so we're working on being so safe about that, and yet we don't want to scare our kids about it. And so I'm just so thankful for this little ecosystem that they're working on in our backyard. So yeah,
that's so great. I love it. I'm glad that you're having the time to do that.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's a lot of it too, is you don't have other outside activities.
Exactly.
Or things on your calendar. You can focus on these things.
Oh my gosh. And this only happened because we went hiking every single day for like a good hour, and that never would have happened had we had the co-ops and the schools and the other things to do. So I'm so thankful for that. Yep.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, so Angela, anything else that's getting you through?
Well, this is something that I know a lot of you might be able to relate to. It's my daily treats. I know everybody probably has one, and if you don't, I hope you do. I feel like now that we, can't go get treats or like go out to eat or, get some of that stuff that I don't know. I feel like it has really shrunk what I'm considering a treat. And like whittled it down to a thing. And my thing is kombucha. Every afternoon I have one. And I so look forward to it.
Is this your homemade kombucha?
Well, yes. And because I was having one every day, so I'm like, okay, this is a lot of kombucha I'm buying. Plus, I don't know that there were times that I wasn't able to get it. You know, it's gotten better now. You can get it when you get groceries. But there were times I wasn't. So I was like, you know, I should probably just go back to making my own. I used to do that. And so I started, you know, growing a SCOBY. And then finally I have some of my own. So I do have some of my own. I do have some store-bought. But my family's following suit. I mean, they're all drinking it too. So.
Oh, yeah. Do you have to...
Ration?
Kind
of, yeah. And then, you know, I also have a stash of chocolate. That's dark chocolate so that I don't eat too much of it.
Yes.
And
smart.
the thing is, I have to eat it I have to have it before noon, otherwise it keeps me awake.
Oh.
'Cause I'm like so sensitive to everything. So I have this before noon, and I'll be like looking at the clock going, it's 11:30. I gotta go eat my chocolate.
And you must not. It must.
I
Not
have
be in
to.
a public area.
Oh no, it's hidden.
Yeah, yeah.
I won't say where in case any of my kids are listening.
Smart. Also smart.
But I love it because like I said, at 11:30 when I'm like, oh my gosh, or like I have this like panic, I have to eat it now. You better go eat that. Otherwise you're going to miss your chance.
Now or never.
And sometimes I miss my chance because I like miss the time and I forget it.
And you don't.
I will not do it later.
Yeah.
Otherwise I am up.
Not worth it.
Not worth it.
I have to say, in our Homeschool Unrefined Squad Facebook group, which is for our patrons, I think I asked one day what's saving your homeschool or what's saving you during quarantine, and somebody said carbs. And I was like, yeah, me too. I had not thought about it until that moment, but I was like, yeah, I can't believe how much bread I'm buying right now. And I just can't even tell you. It's so interesting because before quarantine, I don't think I was really I had a normal amount of bread. I mean, I've gone on like no carb, low carb, you know, times in my life, seasons. But at the moment I was in a just normal, like I wasn't doing a ton, but seriously, I love a good like buttered toast. Oh my gosh. Like now more than ever. I cannot even tell you how much joy it brings me.
Hot buttered toast.
Hot buttered toast. Anyway, that's what that reminded me of, because it's just so, I mean, there are some things that are just so comforting.
I know.
That's one of them. And
I think you should this is not the time to be concerned about what you're eating.
I agree.
I'm usually not concerned about what I'm eating, but I'm really not now.
Really not now.
So,
yep, for sure. Good.
How about you? Do you have one more?
Well, okay, so I have to say, this is might be kind of odd, but maybe some of you can relate to this. Okay, so I have this Apple Watch, and every month it has a fitness goal for me, which I didn't even know for like a year and a half.
Wait a minute. It sets one for you?
It sets a goal for me every month.
Oh,
which
okay.
I was unaware of until I started looking through. I don't know, and I was like, oh, there's a main goal for me or whatever. And when I found out about this probably like 6 months ago, I started just at least acknowledging that it was there, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll try this. I don't know. Now that I'm home all the time, I'm like, I am getting this goal whether I, no matter what. Now it's the goal or nothing. And it feels so good to I love, and I've talked about my water bottle where I I like how it tracks how much water I'm drinking, and I can reach this goal, and it's all for myself. Like nobody else cares about it except me.
Yep.
And that is how I get I am so motivated by just reaching these goals for myself. And I don't even, if I tell other people about it, it's less, for me sometimes it's less exciting almost.
Interesting.
But, yeah. So I love that I'm working on this goal.
Is it for exercise?
It's exercise. Yeah, a lot of it. It's
exercise. They're steps.
I haven't had a step one. No, but this month I have to try and get And I'm so interested if these are the same. Is this the same for everybody else with an Apple Watch, or is it just
This
for me?
is really vulnerable. Just tell us what it
It's 50 minutes. I'm supposed to get like on the average 50 minutes of exercise every day. 50 minutes of and a lot of it is read by your beats per minute, your heartbeats per minute. So
Okay.
like it's tricky because when I go on a hike with my kids, I don't get that many exercise minutes because like I don't walk fast enough with my kids to get my
Okay.
heart rate up that fast.
Okay.
So like I have to be really strategic about how I am exercising sometimes. And
So are you like, kind of like, come on, kids.
pick
gotta
up the
go
pace.
faster.
But otherwise, so it's definitely motivating me to carve out time to hike by myself, for sure, which is good for my mental health also and emotional. So it's just so good for me. Oh, and then the other thing is, if I say that I'm doing yoga, if I like, because when you start an exercise, you just push a button and say, this is what I'm doing, right?
Okay.
If I say I'm doing yoga, it counts like the whole time. It doesn't matter what my heart beats per minute is. It just counts it. Because I think, you can be doing yoga and your heart rate isn't very high. It can be, right?
Sneaky.
So I've been like, so on days when I don't have 50 minutes, I just do more yoga. And at first I was like, I feel like I'm cheating.
Yeah.
But now, after I did like 3 or 4 days of like really good yoga, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I kind of needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been doing yoga every single day in May.
Wow.
Which it hasn't been, it's been 7 days. So, yeah. So I'm
That's
doing so much
so
more yoga
interesting.
now, and only just to get up. At first it was to get up, to 50 minutes of exercising every day, but it's been so good for me.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying
Okay,
it all.
I might have to ask you this off mic because I have been thinking, do I need an Apple Watch?
Yeah.
I feel like I need some I need to count my steps or have some other motivator
Yeah.
to help me like you. I feel like I need a motivating goal
Right.
setting
Yeah.
thing,
Yep.
not just myself. So I'm going to ask you off mic what you think
Sure.
about it.
I'd
I
like
know
to
you love
hear-
your Apple Watch.
I do. There was a time where I took it off for like a month just because I was like, I need a little break.
Yeah.
There was a time, maybe a year ago, but I
Yeah.
am really loving it now so much.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear
Okay.
from other people too if they like their Apple Watch.
Yeah, I would love to hear.
And especially about your exercise goals. Let's hear that. Are they
Are
the
you
same?
supposed to get more than 50? Less than 50? What if I got an Apple Watch and it was like, you need to get 10 minutes? Can you do it?
Actually, I did look back at my history because you can see what the goals
yeah.
were. And
yeah.
I had no idea that I had these goals like a year ago or whatever, and they were pretty small. They were pretty small. So I
Okay.
think they are increasing.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's good. All right. Well, should we move on to loving this week?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
LTW. Angela, what are you loving this week?
Okay. I am loving a book
Great.
that I think you all should read or listen to.
Okay.
It is called The Color of Water by James McBride.
Okay.
This is a book that I read. I'm trying to remember. I think it was probably in 2002 because I remember where I was living when I read it. So that's like 17 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I loved it then. And I remember loving it. And I remember thinking, I am also trying to reread books.
Yes.
I
think
have a
that's
goal of rereading.
I think this is a great time to reread books that you
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. And I forget. I mean, I remembered the general premise of the book, but other than that, I pretty much forgot everything. I just know I loved it. And so I thought, I'm going to read it again. Also, I am trying to read most of my books are written by authors of color, which this man is. And so this fit that really well. And I just needed a book that I knew I was going to love. And I loved it so much. I remember loving it so much back then. But I feel like I loved it so much more now the second time.
Great.
It's a memoir, which I love. And it is about this man, and his mother is Jewish, white and Jewish. And his father's black. So he is biracial, and he grew up, and his parents met and married in like the 40s.
Wow.
And so that was a time when interracial marriage was, you know, I mean, they were scared
Yeah.
being
I
married.
believe it.
And so it is about his life growing up and also his mother's life. And his mother never really told him about her life and her backstory being Jewish. And so near the end of her, not the end of her life, but as she got older, he's a writer. And so he kind of convinced her to tell her story. And so the book is about his story, alternating chapters with her story. And it is just, the writing's phenomenal. The story's phenomenal. She's like a remarkable woman. And it's just like, also I learned a lot about history at the time, you know.
Oh, I love that.
And it was
part of
just,
it, for sure.
it was just
Awesome.
so good.
So was it written back then when, like in the early 2000s when you read it? Is
Yeah,
that
it was,
when
I looked it up. It was written in 95 and
Okay.
it won a lot of awards.
Wow.
And it was like on the bestseller list for a long time then. And so, yeah, so it was really well known. So you may have read it or heard of it, but it is, he didn't know that his mom was white. Like they were like immersed, like they had, you know, we were immersed in black culture, went to
Yeah.
black churches and
Yeah.
stuff. And as he's growing up, he's like, Mom, are you, what color are you? Are you black or what?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And she always brushed him off.
Oh, wow.
She
Wow.
never wanted to share. She had a really painful backstory and she came from this really tough family life and she just
Wow.
didn't want to open up about it. And so when she finally did, it was just this like really tough yet remarkable story. And
Wow.
yeah, it was really, really well done.
That's
So,
awesome.
and I just looked and they
Put it
have
on
an
my list.
Audible, so you can listen to it if you want. Yeah.
Are you, so you're reading it?
I read it. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Good. All
Yeah.
right.
How about you? What are you loving?
Okay, I'm also loving a book. Well,
Okay.
I loved it. I'm done with it. It's called More Myself by
Okay.
Alicia Keys.
Oh,
It's also
this
a
is
memoir.
on my list. It's on my list.
Yeah, it is. Well, number one, I love Alicia Keys. I always
too.
have.
Me too.
I
Did you first see her on Oprah?
I probably did, and she talked about it in the book. That
She
first,
like played the piano on
Yep.
Oprah, and I was
And
like, "Who is
yes, and
this girl?"
She talked about how she did her hair on Oprah for
Okay.
just for that. Do you remember her hair? It
No.
was all in braids.
Oh yeah.
And with beads on the end, and like she described it how she did that because especially for Oprah, and you know she got her hair done, and like how that kind of became iconic for a while, like how people just remembered her like that
Okay.
for so long. But yeah, I love Alicia Keys because she brings so much light into the world. She just is, every time I see her or hear her, she talks about like peace and unity and lifting each other up, lifting people up. And her voice is always just like for good. It's always for good. And so she, in this book, she talks about very tough things that happened in her life. And it is just the most inspiring thing to hear her backstory and then like, know like who she is right now as a person. And just,
Yeah.
she has used everything in her life in a way to make the world better. And
Yeah.
it's so inspiring.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, I know. I always try to, and I know I'm not supposed to do this. I always try to, I don't always try to, but I do kind of type people with their Enneagram type. Because it's just Enneagram. The Enneagram is often on my mind. And I've always thought of Alicia Keys as a 9 because she's such a peacemaker. And just always about like getting along, right? And loving everyone. But after reading this book, I feel I see so much of an Enneagram 3 in her. She is such a hard worker and such a go-getter. Even from a young age, she was like, you know, had this vision and just kept going and kept going and like did not let things stop her. And so anyway,
That's so great. I am so glad to hear this review because I knew she had a book out, and so I put it on my list. That's all I knew about it. I thought, I have no idea if she's a good writer, if this is
Yeah,
a good story.
I know.
I have no idea. So I'm so glad to hear that it's that good.
I know. And, actually, I thought this would be, well, was coming off of a few fiction books. And I was like, I need a little bit of a, kind of a palate cleanser. I don't want to get emotionally involved necessarily. And I thought this would be the book where I don't get emotionally involved. But I did.
Yeah.
I just really love, I feel very connected to Alicia. She obviously did a great job of writing it.
Yeah.
Because I feel
for
that
sure.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she sings a lot in it, or not sings, but she plays the piano in between the chapters if you're listening on audio. And then also she has people in her life write little snippets every once in a while about their experience, about what she talks about. And it's so cool to hear from their point of view, what happened during this time. And they all read them personally.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get it on Audible.
You should.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Homeschool Unrefined. We also have our website, homeschoolunrefined.com, where you can find show notes and links to everything that we talked about. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Homeschool Unrefined is created and produced by Maren Gorse and Angela Sizer. Ethan Miller is our editor, and Amanda Ginn is our VP of all the important things.